Hi guys, it's Dom here from JoJo Productions, and today I want to talk about using off-camera flash at a wedding reception. So when it comes to the wedding reception, this is where I see a lot of people kind of freak out, and this is where I see a lot of beginners get very intimidated, because this is the part of the wedding that's usually the darkest part of the wedding, because the reception hall's usually in an inside location and there's very little lighting because, you know, the couple want a certain ambient mood, and so there's going to be very little light. So I see a lot of photographers kind of freak out and they want to shoot with the ambient light, but there really isn't too great of lighting. The only lighting I guess that would be okay to use would be the DJ's lights during the dancing, but even then I wouldn't recommend using that. I would recommend using a flash. So where do most people start when it comes to using a flash at a wedding? They use a setup kind of like this. This is an on-camera flash setup, and it's better than using an on-camera flash that's actually on the camera. At least they're using a speed light, and most of the time you see them, you know, shoot a speed light kind of like this, and it looks okay. Not great, not professional in any means. Personally, I don't think so anyway. It still looks very sourcey, very on-camera look. I don't like that much. I think it looks okay. So if I don't recommend this, what do I recommend? I recommend using an off-camera flash, such as this thing. This is the Westcott FJ400. It is a 400 watt light. It's a battery powered thing, and it is a very, very bright light. It's probably overkill, but I'm going to talk about why using something like, you know, a bigger strobe is actually going to be beneficial instead of using, you know, something smaller like one of these. So when it comes to off-camera flash, I'm going to talk about a couple setups. I think I'm going to do 3 setups here for you. I'm going to talk about the dancing, I'm going to talk about the cake cutting, and I'm also going to talk about, you know, the toasts. So to do this, we need a diagram. So let's jump on over and let's take a look at our diagram. But before we jump over to the diagram, I want to talk about why using a bigger light actually makes a lot more sense than using something like this. I personally recommend using something like an FJ400, or at least maybe a 400 watt light. You could probably use like a Godox 8200 or some sort of 200 watt light. That's probably about as low as I'd get. But I mean, I've used these and, you know, a bit bigger lights and stuff like that. But I would recommend something like this that's a little bit overkill, because here's the deal. Cameras nowadays can see pretty well in the dark. Like most of the time my settings when it comes to, you know, dancing and toasts and all that stuff are going to be like ISO, usually like 3200, and my shutter speed is probably going to be maybe 1/200th at most. So if your ISO is higher, what does that mean? I can lower the power of my flash, which is what you want to do. So something like this is going to be great, because the lower the power of light is, the faster it's going to recharge and the more frames that you can take in one sitting. So I can shoot this little flash, well, I guess it's not very little. I can shoot this flash maybe 5 or 6 times, even more than that, before it actually needs to, you know, sit and recycle. Whereas something like this smaller flash here, you might be able to do 1 or 2, and then you have to wait for it to recycle, and these usually take about 2, sometimes even 3 seconds, and that doesn't seem like a long time, but when everybody's dancing and you're missing moments, it's a long time, and it's really not acceptable. So something like this is going to be a lot better, just for that reason of, you know, recycle speeds, and you can take a lot more frames per second. All right, so let's say this is our dance floor. Can you see that all right? Okay, perfect, cool. And we have our couple here dancing. I'm going to do what's called a cross light setup. And basically your dance floor has 4 corners, right? Cool, great. So you're going to put your 2 lights on each corner facing each other inwards. So you're going to put a light here and a light here. And you're going to have them facing in towards the couple. This is going to give you a few different options. One, this is going to give you a very spotlighty kind of look if you shoot it off axis of both flashes. So if you are sitting here and you're shooting, you're going to get kind of more of a spotlighty kind of look. It's not going to look sourcey at all. It is going to look very three-dimensional. It's going to give you a very interesting look. You're looking at it right now on your screen. This is most of the time how I want my photos to look. I want them to look very dynamic and very the least sourcey as I can. So, but let's say you do want a little bit of backlight. You can always come a little more on axis to your flash and you can shoot like this. You do want to point your camera towards the opposite flash. So if you're facing this way, you want this light here to act as a rim light. And you're still going to be able to light up your couple just fine. It's going to look a little more sourcey, but it's not going to look completely sourcey because you have this hair light right here. And again, you can do it on this side. You can come onto this side, get a backlight this way. If you want that kind of spotlighty look, you can come to this corner and you can do it. So this really does cover the whole entire dance floor, and this is how I set up my flashes when it comes to the first dances. This is going to work for the whole entire night, not just the first dance or whatever. It's going to work for all of the dancing. So a cross light setup with 2 flashes. I did forget to mention that you do need 2 flashes to do this. You can do this with 1. I would recommend using 2 different off-camera flashes. All right, now let's move on and let's do the cake cutting next. So this is the table. Can you see that? Can you see that all right? Sort of. Okay, cool. The couple's here. Let's say this is the cake in the middle. All right, so this is going to be pretty easy. Again, this would be better if you had a 2 flash setup. If you have just 1, that's fine. I'll show you what you need to do with just 1. But, so you're here, you're, shooting this way. There you are, you and your little camera. Is that good? Probably not really, but that's fine. So I'm going to put the flash, and this is what I usually do. I always put my flash on the corner of the table and I have it pointing in. This is going to add a lot of depth, a lot of dimension. It's not going to look very sourcey. You're still going to get some shadow. So if you have 1 flash, you can do that. If you have a second flash, which I recommend, you're going to put it behind them on the other corner, like this. This is going to act as a hair light. This is going to light them up, separate them from the background, but it's also going to do that same thing to the cake. So again, another cross lighting setup, and I usually recommend probably staying right in front of the couple as far as camera placement. I wouldn't really move off axis from there. So there you go, there's the setting, there's the setup for the cake cutting. So now here we have a diagram of the toasts. This is the couple sitting at the table. This is going to be the person speaking. This is going to be you. Another really bad, illustration. My bad. And these are going to be your flashes. So I usually have 1 flash at the corner of the table that comes in, and that flash is going to be hitting the couple, and that's it. I have another flash usually set up around over here, that is going to be just for the speaker. So if you need to, you can grab photos of the couple and their reaction, and then if you need to come back, you can also get the speaker. I don't recommend putting these lights too close because let's say you want to step back and zoom out and get the whole entire scene. This lighting setup is going to work perfectly for that. You will be able to get both of them lit perfectly. This is sort of a cross lighting setup. If you can do a cross lighting setup, I'd probably recommend it, but this usually works pretty well that I have found out.